attitude. We need swagger, okay? Regardless of what happens out there. Doesn't matter. Keep your swagger.
Hey there, this is 5-Hole Fantasy Hockey. I'm your host for today, Mike Rogerson. Happy New Year. Happy 2023. Beginning of this hockey season into 2022 was a wild start. Let's see if 2023 is going to be any more normal. You can find us on Twitter at FHF Hockey, and you can get at us anytime in our Fantasy Hockey Discord. We like to get questions for our mailbag and any kind of questions in chat you want to have around fantasy hockey. Links will be in our show notes. Discord in particular grew up over 2,300 people in 2022, so that was a big year for our Discord. It's become a really fun place to chat hockey and hockey cards and memorabilia and fantasy hockey and barbecue. And me and Zach spent a month arguing about Christmas things. We'll be announcing the King of Christmas winner this week when Zach and TJ are back, and we have the full lineup back together. It was a tight race, I can tell you that much. We wanted to make sure you get a week preview to start the new year back on the good foot. Be prepared. So I'm gonna get tonight out for you solo, and then like I said, we'll all be back the full meal deal starting next episode. A few injuries just to make sure everyone's still aware of before we get going here. Letang and Petrie are both out now. Good thing it's not because of the stroke for Letang. Separate injury, didn't seem too major, but Pittsburgh's schedule isn't great this week, so I wouldn't bother trying to pick up a replacement D from Pittsburgh in their absence. I would probably look elsewhere. Speaking of D that are out, John Carlson had a puck to the face, and he's out at least week to week at the moment. They said long term, at least a week, but probably more. That's going to pop up later in the episode as well. Vrana is conditioning in AHL and going to be returning very soon, so that will be interesting to see how his return goes in Detroit. Tarasenko is day-to-day with an upper body injury. He was out with an illness for a day, came back and played under 5 minutes and then was injured. Again, it didn't seem too major. Upper body injury, should only be out a game or two. And Wheeler is skating, so he was terrible start, really hot couple of weeks, and then he went out with a groin injury, but he should be back 2 to 3 weeks from now. Could be a time to stash him in your IR if you can. And somewhere around there, maybe another week or so, Ehlers will be back as well. So Winnipeg's going to get a huge chunk of offense back in about 2 to 3 weeks. So you might want to take a look and see how your Winnipeg players are doing in your league, and maybe you can buy low right now. Taking a look at some good performances from over the last week or so. There's a few in particular that I'm very happy about. Bo Horvat in particular, back-to-back 4-point games. The guy is just on a mission this year to make a lot of money. Hopefully we get to keep him on Vancouver. Arvidson in LA, he's got 6 points in a 3-game stretch there, so he's hitting 2 points a game, very available in a lot of leagues, so keep an eye on him. Elias Pettersson, he had 10 points in the last 5 games, so he just continues to have a fantastic season. His pace is incredible this year. I mean, obviously not a guy you're going to pick up right now, but I want to shout him out after having a terrible season last year. So he continues his hot pace for pretty much a calendar year now. He's been just unbelievable. And another guy who's having a great year and just continues to chug along is Konecny. 6 goals, 3 assists in his last 5 games, so almost 2 points a game. He is just having a comeback year, absolute comeback year after being kind of disappointing last year. Torts is actually, how many times do I have to brag about it? But I did kind of see him and Torts getting along, and it seems that they are. And Philly has a few little bright spots, which last year they basically had none. So I think Konecny's definitely one of them. In terms of this upcoming week, schedule breakdown, it's a very up and down week. Monday's got 3 games, Tuesday 11 games, Wednesday 3 games, Thursday 10, Friday 6, Saturday 9, Sunday 8. So there's no hugely heavy nights, but there are Monday and Wednesday are particularly light nights. So those off nights, those first couple of off nights are very valuable if you can get in on them. Not a ton of great schedules this week. Anaheim has 4 games played, 3 off nights. So classic Anaheim off nights. Trouble there is just that they're Anaheim and they are terrible. Washington, Boston, and Arizona have 4 games played, 1 off night each. So I think you might find some options on those teams. And then Detroit and Tampa have the midweek off nights, Wednesday and Friday. So they have 3 games played, 2 off nights each. So Detroit and Tampa Bay. And then in terms of bad schedules to avoid, you want to avoid Buffalo, Ottawa, and San Jose. Each only have 2 games with no off nights. So, the only real obvious tip of the week is get Anaheim. They're the only team that has both those Monday and Wednesday off nights that are extremely light. So, it's a tough one to find good players on Anaheim, but it's definitely worth taking some risks and picking up those guys, because if you can load up on those 2 off nights, you're going to get an edge in overall games played for sure. It kind of leads right into the streamer suggestions for the week. The one guy you could find on Anaheim is Mason McTavish. He hasn't been, too amazing on the season or anything like that, but he's center, he's left wing, so dual eligible. He's 17% owned in Yahoo, so he's available in a lot of leagues. He's got 6 points in his last 6 games, and he's got, which is promising, he's got 9 shots on goal in the last 2 games. So he does look like he's, potentially the start of a streak here. We'll see. Yeah, the last couple of games he's kind of gone cold again in terms of production. He's still shooting, so we'll see. Like I said, they have games off nights, games played coming up. So he is someone to look at. But this is the problem that I was talking about. In Anaheim, they do have the schedule, but they don't really have players. Troy Terry, super owned, 71%. Frank Vetrano, particularly in a categories league where you're going to make use of his hits and blocks. And it's such a weak team. If you're after just trying to get players into the games, Adam Henrique and Jakob Silverberg are players. There's no other time I'd think of taking them, but if it's going to get you those Monday and Wednesday super off nights, you could try to do it. But the one guy I would try to put a bit of stock into is Mason McTavish. Outside of Anaheim, again, they have the best schedule. They just don't have the best team to pull from. Another good schedule is Detroit. Detroit has the 2 off nights, only 3 games played, but they do have the 2 off nights in the middle of the week. A couple of good options there. I like Lucas Raymond. He's a right wing. He's 28% rostered. He's available in a lot of leagues. We've talked a lot about his slow start to the season, but he's got 6 points in his last 6 games played. I picked him up because they had a good schedule last week. And another positive sign is he is hitting consistently. It's only 1 or 2 times a game, but he's doing it consistently. And that to me is, especially with a young player like that, that's always a sign that he's getting his confidence back. In terms of fantasy, obviously, consistent hits on top of point per game is always good. And after such a slow start, I know he is a good player. He's actually a good player, so you'd think that he's going to get back somewhat to maybe not maintaining a point per game pace, but he's available. Again, 28% rostered, so he's He's out there and gettable. Michael Rasmussen, center left wing. He's 7% owned. So he's got 3 games played again with the 2 off nights. He is on the first line and first power play. DFO, Daily Faceoff, has him listed as a left wing, but he's playing center and taking the faceoffs more than anybody else. So I'm going to say he's a center. He's dual eligible in Yahoo, so that's what matters. What really matters, he has 5 points in his last 5 and is actually leading the team in scoring since getting promoted up to the top line, top power play, and is giving him 5 extra minutes time on ice per game, which obviously, if you're playing reasonably well, 5 extra minutes a game is huge, and it's obviously proving to be huge. So we'll see what happens as players come back into the fold, like Vrana's coming back, Bertuzzi will eventually be back, and so on. But if he can hang on to that playing time, that's fantastic. Main thing is they have a couple off nights this week, and he is available, and he's playing great right now. So definitely worth picking up. Outside of Detroit, as I mentioned earlier, John Carlson is out with the face thing. Although he's been getting picked up a lot now, Eric Gustafson filling in just incredibly right now. So he's obviously defenseman. He's 54% rostered as of this afternoon. They have 4 games played and 1 off night. He's just been on fire with John Carlson being out. He's got 13 points over his current 7-game point streak. He's got games up to 6 shots a game. He's shooting a ton over this streak, and he's getting power play 1 with Ovi. So yeah, Eric Gustafson, definitely not a long-term hold, but definitely worth holding right now, this week in particular, and until he slows back down again. It's gross, but it is what it is. He's getting points, and that's what you need. Another guy I know Zach would love to talk about if he was here, David Krejci, center, 25% rostered. I mean, we've talked about him ad nauseum over the last 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. He's just David Krejci. He's a good pickup, so pick him up. He's just a very reliable points guy. Boston is fantastic, and he's as good a second line center as you're going to find, Draisaitl notwithstanding. Another more interesting pickup for the time being right now is Michael Amadio, center right wing, 8% rostered out in Vegas. 8 points over his last 6 games. He's got a 6-game point streak going since being moved up to the top line with Chandler Stevenson and Mark Stone. So since he's been moved up to that spot and getting up to as much as 19 minutes a game, so a huge jump in time on ice, better deployment. He's got 8 points and has scored every game. So there you go. Vegas only has 3 games this week, but they do have that nice and rare Monday off night this week. So I would pick him up. Eichel and Marchessault are out. So, with this kind of production, there's no reason for him to lose this position until those guys come back. Another guy who is, let's call him a just go check because of injury status, is Nick Schmaltz in Arizona. He's a center right wing, 25% owned, so very available. He is day-to-day as of right now. We had a time last year where he was keeping pace with McDavid for like 2 months. But he's a very talented player who goes very hot and very cold. And right now he's up to 9 points in his last 6 games. So he's on a good streak. He missed last game with an upper body injury, but is definitely worth a look. See how serious it is. It didn't seem very serious. And if he's just out for a game and back, keep an eye on him, because when he's on these kind of streaks, he's very worth having. Arizona themselves, the guys there that are worth getting. So he's one of them. Yeah, keep an eye out for him. Now, we had a couple of guys mentioned throughout the episode so far in Philadelphia that are both going to fall into the just go check category, and that's Konecny and Tony DeAngelo. They are both 68% rostered. People are very hesitant because Philly is shitty. But Konecny, as I said, he's just been back at it ever since Torts got there. He's got 35 points in 31 games. So, great offensive output, over, hit and block a game, and nearly 3 shots a game. So in every league format, Konecny should be owned. And he's still available in a third of leagues out there in Yahoo. So go check if he's available in your league. He should be picked up, he should be kept, and he should be played every night. He's such a great all-around fantasy player. I know there's a huge hesitancy because he is kind of going downhill the last 2 years, but he's back. And Tony D missed some time, but since the last 4 games he has 8 points, and he's just shooting like mad. So if Tony D is available, he's going to be on every power play Philly has. And they, with Konecny and JVR and Kevin Hayes and a couple guys, they actually don't have a bad power play when everyone's healthy and focused. And it seems like there's a few guys there that want to play for Torts, and they're all going to be in the power play. So Tony D quarterbacking that is not a bad option. If you're looking for hits, Marty Febs, our favorite, is back after an injury. Marty Favari, or Fahervery, as I've heard it pronounced as well. But Marty Febs came back for that 9-2 trouncing of Montreal on New Year's Eve. He managed to get himself an assist out of it. And hitting a block, generally speaking, he's a 4 or 5 hits a game, couple of blocks a game kind of guy who is capable. And, again, with John Carlson out, there is extra time on ice to be had, and he's going to get a bunch of it. And Washington's got a pretty weak schedule coming up. So if you're in a league that values hits and blocks and, especially hits, Marty Febs is definitely my guy. Now, in terms of other guys you might want to look at for hits and blocks, Nick Ritchie in Arizona. If you want a forward who's going to get you hits and blocks, again, they got the 4 games played. They got an off night, so not a guy I like to talk about, but he's there. Nick Ritchie, 25 hits in his last 6 games, so 4 and a bit. He's got 4 points as well, 2 of them on the power play. So he is a part of that Arizona power play, which is, it is what it is. But another guy who you could get, who could be looked at as a categories league pickup is Jason Zucker in Pittsburgh. I know I'm going to catch shit for this, but he's hitting at almost 4 hits a game recently. 3 points in his last 5 games. 2 of them are on the power play, so he's getting power play time in Pittsburgh, which is pretty fantastic. So there's a few of those. Another, just generally speaking, a guy to keep an eye on in the future, just in terms of hits, is Klim Kostin in Edmonton. He's actually got 3 goals in the last 2 games. Don't expect any of that to continue by any means, but he just hits. Like, he's got 9 hit game recently, 6 hit game, 4 hit game, and he's averaging about 3.5 to 4 hits a game. Klim Kostin, he's left wing, right wing eligible, so when he's playing, there's a for sure chance of hits, and there's a slight chance of goals apparently. Again, I wouldn't count on that, but Klim Kostin, just had to give him a little shout out for that 3-goal performance in the last 2 games. Beyond that, my overall streamer pick for the week is probably going to be Mason McTavish. I like him because he's the only option in Anaheim. I do like, a few of the guys. I like Michael Amadio, just as an interesting one. Gustafson, Michael Rasmussen, and Raymond in Detroit. I like all those picks. So what I could say is I like all my picks. There's a lot of very available guys that are very potentially very good this upcoming week. So load up on Anaheim in any way you can, and particularly get in on that Monday option. You got Philadelphia, Anaheim, Boston, Pittsburgh, Vegas and Colorado all playing on Monday. So do whatever you can to get players on that night in particular and get a jump on points and games played. So there you go. Just a short one for now. Like I said, the whole top line, Zach and TJ and I will reunite. We'll all be back next episode for a Tuesday Trends and mailbag. So you can get at us on Discord if you want to get questions into the mailbag, or players you want us to review on Tuesday Trends, guys who are streaking either positively or negatively, hot or not. If there's anyone you want to hear us deep dive into, you can put that into the Tuesday Trends channel on our Discord. You can get at us on Twitter at FHF Hockey, and like I said, we'll also be rolling out the results from our King of Christmas battle between Zach and I. It's a close one, and I think we're both afraid to actually see the calculated results, but we will be opening those together on our Tuesday episode, so we'll all find it at once who actually won, calculated by Ernst & Young for validity. Thanks again. Happy New Year's. Happy 2023. We will see you on Tuesday.
Adios, turd nuggets.